Hey folks, Kilt-Man here, Kilt-Man at your services. How are you all? I think we're all doing very well, or at least better than me. Because apologies right now up front, I'm not very well. I woke up this morning feeling really super lousy and hangover. No, it's not a hangover. Although I was out last night. No, it's not COVID. All the bugs are available. I'm just sore throat and like a bit bunged up and a bit raspy. So if my voice does begin to start croaking and I start coughing, then apology, as I say, in advance. Right, anyway, Halloween doth approach. Halloween 2022 doth approach. And yeah, let's get in the mood. So I've got another big creature feature for you. I reviewed Tarantula just about a week ago, I think, and we had a great time with that one, didn't we? Now, this one, it might not be such a great time because I revisited this last night for the first time in years. And to be honest with you, it's the terror from beyond space. Yeah, you know it, you've seen it. Proper interstellar, Martian, alien, beast on the rampage. A possible influence for another alien beastie on board, stowing aboard a spacecraft. Alien itself, yes, very definitely, but we'll come on to all of that. This was made in 1958, and as a child, with all my science fiction and horror compendium books by the likes of Dennis Gifford and Philip Strick, all these books about movies, like, oh, you turn the page and you see a picture of this, the terror from beyond space, with a dead body on the floor. Wow, my little imagination was working overtime, and then I finally got to see it, and yeah, I loved it as a kid. It's a big monster, big man in a rubber suit on the rampage, smashing down doors, coming through bulkheads, yes, and ripping up people, pounding on them like a gorilla, pounding on bodies. Normally seen only in shadow, but yeah, I thought, wow, this guy's scary, and then I managed to see it several years later on, well, good few years later on, at a film festival in Manchester on the big screen, and I thought, it's the same film. Wow, this is really tedious and there's not much happening in it, and yet there's a lot of deaths and a lot of incidents, and yet it seemed really super bland. So when I finally caught up with it again on Blu-ray when it first came out, in fact, I got it on a DVD, on one of those midnight movies double features, and I got it on that with something, probably a Vincent Price movie, I can't remember now, and it's on the shelves somewhere, and I watched it again and fell in love with it all over again. And then I thought, right, I've done Tarantula, let's do another big creature feature. I've done plenty on the channel, you guys know this, but I thought, let's do it, the terror from beyond space. Oh wow, gonna have a great time with this. So I watched it last night for the first time, as I say, in years, but on Blu-ray. That Blu-ray there. And I thought, oh my god, what is all the fuss about? Did I ever really love this movie? Yeah, I did love the movie, and I have a lot of affection for the movie, but man, this is not a good film. Oh dear god, it's fucking awful. But anyway, let's endeavour. Let's do it. Right, so 1958, directed by Edward L. Kahn, spelt differently, and very workmanlike sort of direction, very TV movie-ish, very TV episodic TV show-ish. It's very flat, very bland, very meh. No directorial flourishes at all. And it's a screenplay by Jeremy, or is it Jerome? There's no Y at the end of it, it's just Jerome. Some people are called Jerome, some pronounce it Jeremy. It's like Toby Hooper. Toby, for many years I called him Tobe Hooper. Tobe, because there was no Y at the end of it. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, man. And then I heard, oh no, it's pronounced Toby. So is Jerome actually Jeremy? Well, anyway, whoever he is, Bigsby wrote this. Jerome or Jeremy Bigsby wrote this. And he's got quite a good pedigree for sci-fi, because he would go on to write episodes of the early Star Trek and also for Twilight Zone. So there you go, some pedigree there. And the story is such as it is, we've had a mission to Mars, which has gone slightly awry because all the crew are dead. And it's only one survivor, played Colonel Carruthers, an American called Carruthers. That's the most English of names ever. Carruthers! But he's Colonel Carruthers, played by Marshall Thompson, who would go on to a lot of more fame with Clarence the Cross-Eyed Lion, and then the TV offshoot in the 60s, Daktari, where he's a safari vet. And it was great as a kid growing up. I used to love reruns of that. But he's the nominal hero of this, and he's been accused of murder because all the other crew members on Mars are dead. So they've sent another rocket, these are rockets now, to go and pick him up. And when they do pick him up, it's not just him, but something big and reptilian climbs aboard as well, because one of the hatches is left open and he gets aboard and makes his presence felt fairly soon. But Carruthers is accused of murder of all the rest of his crew and personnel, and you've had an opening on Earth, a press conference. There's some directorate of space affairs or whatever it's called, and he's saying, right, we've got Colonel Carruthers, we've sent a rescue mission up there, we've accused him of murder, he's coming back to Earth to stand trial, and probably a firing squad, whatever the hell. And they're all like, the old one house, whoa, there's the big story. And now we cut straight to, the lift off from Mars. A nice matte painting of Mars with a destroyed, or rather dishevelled rocket lying there. And the camera pans across this painting and you get this voiceover sort of saying, Mars means death. Or something like that. And so he's aboard their ship. And straight away, it's very strange how this whole scenario plays out. If this guy's accused of murder, mass murder of all his crew, and although he's sticking to his story of a monster that attacked them, and the rest of the crew, some kind of like him and they're okay with him. They'll sit and play chess with him and they'll have cigarettes with him and have conflabs and talk. One of the ladies there's only 2 women aboard this ship, but one of them, Anne, played by, hang on a minute, Shirley Patterson, who at the time was known as Sean Smith. Well, she clearly has the hots for him, and it's very strange. If he's accused of murder, shouldn't he be locked in his own quarters somewhere, and not able to fraternise with the rest of the crew? You can't trust a guy like that, can you? But then again, what's the evidence? Well, I'll tell you. He reckons they were all picked off one by one in a jeep, a Martian jeep, going back to their rocket during a sandstorm when some strange shape climbed aboard and took people out left, right and centre. They started firing back with guns, and because they actually fired, he said, well, you say about this monster, well, how do you explain this then? This is the captain of this rescue ship, which is Commander or Colonel Van Hoosen, played by a guy called Kim Spaulding. And he shows our hero a skull with a bullet hole in it. Hey, look at that. What about this skull then that we found? I put it to you that you were stranded there and you realised there wasn't enough food for everybody. So you killed all the rest of your crew so you could live a bit longer and wait for the rescue mission. That's what I think. But they're all very conversational and having a bit of a, they're okay with each other. And he's like, oh, you just don't believe me, but I suppose I'll have to face the trial. Oh, maybe you believe me, to someone else. And well, it sounds a bit dodgy. I've only heard, this is Anne, this is the luscious Anne saying to him, I've only heard what the Colonel said. Now let's hear your version. So he explains. And they're all smoking, they're all chain smoking. Oh, the dangers aboard this rocket ship. Oh my God, well, they'll come on. Forget about big reptilian Martians that actually have a penchant for draining all the bodily fluid and even the marrow out of the victim. That's what they live on. And they do it via a form of osmosis, apparently. This is what we get told. Again, more on this guy later. But they're all smoking, and this is the confines of a friggin' rocket. And a very sparsely furnished rocket at that as well. lots of bleeping things on the walls around, and the whole thing is just a huge, big, literally, vertical phallic rocket with lots of different levels, which we'll come on to. That plays a huge part in it. And but let's hear your version. Well, you're coming back in the Jeep and blah 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 blah. They got picked off one by one. But how do you explain the bullet hole in so and so's skull? And he goes, well, we were all firing guns. I'd say the one that got the bullet was the lucky one. No, the lucky one was you, mate, because you survived. So anyway, down below, I mentioned this multi-tiered sort of structure, the rocket, down in the basement sort of thing, the baggage compartment, whatever you want to call it, like the hold, the hull, the beast is there, seen only in shadow, but it's big lumbering thing. And you've got one guy above and he's kind of like, I can hear noises down there. So he goes down to investigate. Next thing you know, roar, he's gone. But you didn't see what did it. You just see shadows and you hear a scream. But our boy, the one who's accused of murder, he's heard. Well, I'm not sure what he heard exactly. They're playing chess, a few of them, all smoking as well. Like, I don't know how you can see the pieces because there's smoke filling the compartment. And he goes, did you hear something? Well, there was a scream and there was a growl and there was a high bit of trilling on the fabulously evocative soundtrack. Again, more on that later. I'm playing it right now by Paul Sortel and what's his name? Bert Schefter. That's Schefter, not Shafter. And it's a wonderful score. These two guys did a lot of 50s and 60s scores. All sci-fi horror monster stuff, like all, less than B pictures, but brilliant evocative scores though. And he's heard something. So he goes out to investigate and they're all going like, what's wrong with you? Look, I didn't hear anything. No, I did. And it sounded like what I heard on Mars. By the way, they've left Mars now. They're flying back to Earth. And they keep looking out of a porthole and they talk about Mars like you can see Mars. Oh no, you can't. All you see is a static starfield with an animated meteor going across the screen, across the viewing portal. But they're going like, yeah, we didn't see much of Mars, but look at her now, she's so small. You can't see Mars! What are you talking about? Shouldn't there have been a big sort of red globe there? Imagine that, the pumpkin there, but red. And you'd had that in the viewing portal. But no, it's just a static card of little stars pinpricked through it and a really shoddy animated meteor. So that's what I heard on Mars. Listen, Carruthers, you're talking shite. Stop trying to scare the crew. All this sort of stuff, and but no, hang on. Who was down there? It was God, what's his name? Kleinhold. Where is it now? I'm looking for his name. I've got his name somewhere here. Kleinhold. So you get this sequence now, which is infernal, and you've got Marshall Thompson, Carruthers, shouting, Kleinhold! Through these hatches, shouting down the stairs, Kleinhold, are you there? Then he gets to the onboard ship communicator. Kleinhold, can you hear me? Kleinhold, where are you? Kleinhold! Shut up! For fuck's sake, shut up! Then you do a bit of a crew call, or maybe there's something to this, and Kleinhold does not answer to a proper direct order to respond. So they start searching everywhere. Oh God, this search. Not only does this search not find Kleinhold, it doesn't find a huge fucking 8-foot tall reptilian monster either. But there's a good reason for that though. Because he's hiding in the air shafts. Air shafts, you say? A big, huge 8-foot tall alien monster who's stowed away aboard a human spacecraft and is hiding in the air shafts? No, that's got to be a one-off. No one else would do that, would they? That's preposterous. What other film would crib that? And the dead body's gone as well. We know it's a dead body. They're still looking for it. And if you look at this sequence, they're looking behind boxes and crates and things and then you see in another level, they're in a control room with all one of these old Doctor Who sort of or Blake 7 style backing pieces full of lights and buttons and things. and they'll look at under cups and things, or under a desk. You can quite clearly see there's nothing there, and they're going, where could he be? Then another guy goes missing. Oh yeah, you've got two brothers, two Italiano brothers, Gino and Bob Finelli, and Bob Finelli, the guy that plays him, I might have his name, Richard Benedict. He's great actually. I do like this guy. Been a lot of TV as well, a lot of westerns and crime dramas, sort of 50s, 60s and early 70s in Colombo and all that kind of thing. But I recognise his face, mainly because he looks like one of my favourite actors of all time. John Saxon, yes, John Saxon, Enter the Dragon, Nightmare on Elm Street, John Saxon. Looks a bit like him. And, well, it's his brother, Gino. So you've had Kleinholz. Now you get Gino. Because while looking for Kleinholz, Gino opened up a cupboard, a little cupboard. Like, oh, is he in there? Can't see him. Oh, but there's like a month's rations of cigarettes. So he gets, oh, I'll have one of them. And actually lights it up like, you hear. And he cuts to a shot of the rubbery feet of the monster. And they turn inward because they're just big rubbery feet that they got. Well, okay, I'll mention him now. The guy in the costume is Ray Crash Corrigan, who was an actor and stuntman in a huge amount of westerns he was in. He opened up his own ranch in Simi Valley, California, as a sort of a living, working historical museum of the Old West, and he would loan it out. Oh, well, not loan it out. He'd rent it out, to Hollywood studios to film, TV shows and westerns there. Well, he's the guy inside the costume, and the costume is designed by a fella called Paul Blaisdell. And Paul Blaisdell had done numerous costumes during the 50s for monsters. What is it? Oh God, what has he done? Let's just think now. Monster from Green Hell, Earth vs. the Spider, The Day the World Ended, and he'd often be the guy in the costume as well. Now, they said, look, you've got to come out to my makeup warehouse, my studio. This is to Ray Crash Corrigan. You've got to come out here so that I can measure you up for the suit. Crash Corrigan went, nah, not going out there. Sorry, too busy. I'll send you my measurements. So that's what he did. He sent the measurements over to Blaisdell, who cobbled together this costume, which is it's great of its time. It's a big lumbering thing, but it's got three claws, long arms. It's got a huge chest like that. The chest, like Brian Blessed, is just out there, and these long arms with these three razor-tipped claws, and a great big mouth on it, and it's kind of it looks a bit like that, to be honest. That's why I've put that there. But anyway, it looks a little bit like that. But because he didn't come out to be suited up and measured properly and fitted for this costume, Crash Corrigan's chin, you can see it when the mouth is open on this costume, on this monster's head. You can see his chin coming through. When they started filming it, they realised, shit, you can see his chin. Yes, I can see his chin. That's his chinny chin. What are we going to do about that? So Paul Blaisdell, the makeup man, he said, okay, I'll tell you what you can do. I'll put makeup on it and I'll paint it, his chin, so it looks like the creature's tongue. Not quite. No, to be fair, once you clock it, you can see his chin a fair bit. But it isn't that bad. And I think in the grand scheme of things, I don't think you get too concerned. You go, I can see his chin. That's ridiculous. That's completely burst my suspense of disbelief bubble. God, rubbish. No, it looks great. You've got the folds in the costume and all this sort of stuff. It's a big lumbering thing. And the feet do turn in. But, as I say, I'll come on to more of the monster action. When Ray Crash Corrigan wants to move, fucking hell, he can sprint in that costume. My God, he can cover some distance quickly, and he's agile. This is a film of cramped spaces and lots of metal steps going up to another hatchway. I like the fact that all the hatchways, because I said before, it's a vertical rocket, as they normally are. So it's built upwards. The whole thing is built upwards. You know, floor, 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 floor. Lots of stairs and all these flying saucer-shaped bulkheads, these hatchways. But I love that look of these things. And there's a button, and they go slowly. Cue lots of suspense where the monster's coming up, and they go, oh, gotta turn it down again. And it's going, you'd be jumping on it. Shut the thing down. But anyway, but you can't have to move up them steps as well. This is Crash Corrigan in this huge, outlandishly massive and misshapen and huge and bulky monster costume. So anyway, Gino's been pounced on, and they find the ciggies there, and then they realise, well, I think they're kind of looking at Carruthers. Have you got something to do with this? Is this what happened to your men on Mars? You know, now it's happening here. And he leans against this sort of grill in the wall, and this, in a shock scene, this arm just goes and just hangs down, and he goes, Siggy, he goes like that. He's our hero. What a wuss bag. And they open this hatchway up, and the body falls down, and it's the body of Kleinholz, the one who first went missing. So another crewman sort of goes, right, okay, like they get the body out, and like, you know, they're obviously panicking. Whoa, where's my brother? Like Bob wants to go after his brother. My brother, is he up there as well? And they kind of put their heads in and look up, and they can't see him. And then this other guy goes, hang on a minute, follow me. And they push they've got packing crates everywhere, like it's just shitty props. Move them aside, and there's a hatchway there. He said, right, that goes into the air shafts. Like, I'll go in and look, because maybe Gino's up there as well. And but I know the layout at the back of my hand. Now, they're armed, these guys. They've got weaponry. You're on a rocket, and you've got gas bombs, grenades, guns, and a bazooka. Right, okay. So he goes in there, and he's got like a 9mm Browning, or it might be a Colt 45 or a Colt Government. I'm not too sure what it is. And he's in there. He goes, right, I'll go in. And the torch as well. By the way, this film is set in 1973. It's made in 1958, and it's set in the lofty, elevated, futuristic year of 1973. In a way, I like this because we had rockets in 1973, and the weaponry that we had in 1973 is what they're using in this. I'm not saying you take them on board a space rocket, but 9mm, you know, automatics, bazookas, an M1 Garand rifle, they've got that as well. Grenades and all that sort of stuff, and a bazooka. We were using them in 1973. So they're not futuristic weaponry, because we're still bloody. In fact, we use them now, for God's sake. Well, not the M1 Garand, but you know. Anyway, so he goes in there, flashlights on, and we still use flashlights as well. So you know, it's hardly like, oh my God, it's so dated using flashlights. Yeah, we still use them now. And he's there with his gun. Think Dallas in the air shaft in Alien. Yeah. And he finds Gino's body, but Gino ain't dead. Gino's there, and he's like crunched up, and oh my God, Gino, and Gino's like, but he looks drained, because I said before, this creature, it drains all the fluid out of people. No idea. They say osmosis, but look at it. It's just a huge lumbering reptile beast on two legs with a great big mouth like that, full of fangs and big talons, big claws in triplicate on each paw. I don't say osmose anything. It doesn't matter. It's just the original working title was It, the vampire from beyond space, because it was draining blood and other fluids, and then changed it to It, the terror. You know, it's far more generalised. And but anyway, Gino's still alive. He's like, I found Gino, and like Bob, his brother's going like, you know, oh, let me in there. No, stay back. And then suddenly you hear, and a great big 3-clawed paw comes out of nowhere, and rakes across this guy's face. Whoosh, and he's like, it rolls back like, but he can't get Gino back, and so he manages to crawl back down. I think he unloads an entire clip at this thing. I think we see the body go, and he gets dragged away. So he comes out, but he's injured now, like, and they've got to get him to the infirmary. He's like, I'm sorry. He's all bandaged up. He's like, I'm sorry. I couldn't save Gino. But Bob was like, but we left him down there. He can't. That's my brother. You know. And understandably, he said, look, I'm so sorry, but it wasn't my fault. Even Gino knew we couldn't save him. And this guy's going like, yeah, I understand. It's not Carruthers' fault. It's not your fault. It's that thing in the hole. It's his fault. But Gino's body's down there. Gotta go. And all this kind of stuff. So they now know that Carruthers was telling the truth. There was some that shape they saw in the sandstorm that got on the back of their Jeep. I'd love to have seen that sequence, to be honest. But he's not telling porcupines now. This is the truth. And it's happening to them again. Their crew now being wiped out. Now, into this problematic scenario, you've also got a love triangle. Oh, wouldn't you know it? There's always one of these, isn't there? You bring women on board spacecraft, a lot of horny men. What's going to happen? And well, you've got Anne, the lovely one, and you've got another woman there as well, who's about 20 years older, and yeah, she's all right, but she's more the nurse one. But what you've got as well, this is the 50s, so excuse me, I told you it was going to happen, didn't I? These women, they are astrophysicists and rocket engineers, explorers and scientists, and one of them is a bloody pathologist as well, and surgeon. But they also make the tea and they look after all the other men folk, So more coffee, I like the cigarette for you. It's still got that sexism. It's kind of, they've got jobs that on board the ship. Okay, I'll give it that. But they are there. Well, one's the matron and one's the eye candy, the sex kitten. Well, she clearly has the hots for the once infamous Colonel Carruthers. But she's also been in love with the captain of their ship, which is Kim Spaulding, which is Commander Colonel Van Hoosen. And he's noticed, that she's paying a lot of attention to this guy. So you've got this weird little standoff sort of thing, this love triangle developing. Anyway, the Beast will continue to make his presence felt. They will examine the body of Kleinhals, the one who went missing first, and in a ridiculous line, this is the older woman, the matronly one, she was like, it looks like every bone in his body was broken, but that isn't what killed him. Well, it didn't fucking help, did it? It was hardly, that was the least of his worries, because they make out he's been drained of all his fluids and all that, and there's makeup to make, they're all kind of like, disheveled. Well, they're not disheveled, it's just white makeup, like drained the blood, and their eyes are all black, and it looks effective enough, I suppose. But anyway, the monster has crunched them up to get them into the air shaft, which is a horrible touch. And it's also one of the things which was jettisoned from Alien when Brett is killed and is dragged up into the air shafts. And yes, we've got the uncut scene there where Ripley and Parker stand there and get covered in blood as the body's being dragged up into the air ducts. Well, the idea is he has been crushed to fit him into the air shafts. Doesn't really come across in Ridley Scott's movie quite that emphasised, but that's what's happened. And they address it in this movie because the body's been crunched up to fit into these ducts. So it is quite nasty. And even the shadowy effect of the Beast beating on a body, whoa, again, just seen in shadow. There's an oft-told rumour that one of the goofs in the movie, gaff in the movie, is that when you see one time and the shadow play on the wall, it's clearly Crash Corrigan not wearing the mask. I've just watched it, I can't see that scene at all. I've heard this a lot, but I watched all the shadow play, and it's quite clearly an alien head that he's wearing, an outsized head. Unless I blinked and missed it, but anyway. Cheers, y'all. This is medicinal purposes now. Yes. A bottle of whiskey a day keeps the doctor away. Apparently. Doesn't do your liver much good though, but anyway, enough said about that. So the Beast will continue to make his presence felt, and he will pick other members of the crew off. This structure, they realised, look, hang on, we've got to seal, each bulkhead, these flying saucer hatchways, So cue lots of suspense of the thing coming and pounding on the underside of these hatchways. They use their guns. They use, oh God, I can't believe I was almost going to gloss over this. When they realise he's in the air ducts, and it's only the early sequence where he's actually in the air ducts. The rest of it, he's just roping around in all these different levels and smashing his way through, going up and down stairs. They find a box of grenades. It's Marshall Thompson. Carruthers turns around and goes, he's just like a, and the camera pans around, great big wooden crate with grenades written on it. Why have you got fucking grenades on a ship like that? Why? Why have you got machine guns and automatics? Dangerous. Dangerous. So what did he go and do? They rig up a trap. You've got the little hatchway where, I think, what was it? Well, I forgot his name now. The one that found the body of Bob. No, Gino. God. Kleinhaus. Gino. Are you under there? No. Hang on. I turned the music off then, didn't I? The search patterns are ridiculous in this. Oh God almighty. But, so, where they found Gino and all that, like, the two hatchways where the arm came down, they seal that back up again. This is a grilled hatchway like that. That's how big it is, right? That's what? A foot. A foot, say. What did he string it up with? 8 hand grenades. 8! Dunk. And he put like a wire through it. So if he pushes through, it's going to pull the pins. Boom. But they've got this other hatchway which they block off. That's the one where the guy went through to go and find the bodies. They block that off. And he put grenades. And then he retreats to another level. And he put the intercom on and they're listening. He's coming through. I can hear him. Grunts, growl, snarl, Martian obscenities. Boosh. And then off camera. Boom. And they're like, ha, we got him. But then they hit. Actually, it's not too bad actually because they hear booms and they're like, yes, we got him. They're all happy. Then you hear smashing things around and they're like, shit, still alive? Oh my God. And then the other one with the 8 grenades goes up. Boom. Rocket isn't even knocked off trajectory. High fragmentation, explosives. And so 8 in one little area, it's going to blow the whole fucking superstructure apart. What are they thinking? It beggars belief. But no, the ship's integrity remains intact. And it hasn't done a damn thing to this creature either. It hasn't even blown any scales off him. His chin's still wobbling inside the great big mouth. And now he's angry. All he's done is piss him off. And they're like, oh, Jesus. Well, hang on. And then you've got the old bird again, the older woman, and she's going, do you remember Gino was rigging up those homemade gas bombs in case we found any dinosaurs on Mars? Remember? And like, he did, didn't he? So they break out on one of these big wooden crates full of whoa, what the hell are these things? So, open the hatch, and they've all gathered around it. They're all there with rifles and fucking automatics. Hatch goes up slowly, and like, can you see him? There he is, yeah, right. They're lobbing these gas bombs down, going off all over the place. And poor old Ray Crash Corrigan in his suit, can't see a fucking thing anyway. He's like stumbling around. Oh, quite pleasant actually. Gonna kill you! Runs up the fucking step. Like, it didn't work. Shut the hatch. And this will happen time and time again as they're going further and further up the ship. The Martian, the It, will wreck each level and then go through this hatch. No matter what they do to block it off and seal it up, he will still come through after them. They get this other idea. Oh, in the meantime, I should say that the captain of the ship, the commander, Van Hoosen, the one that was in love with Anne, who's now a bit pissed off with the fact that he could be losing his bird to what was once a mass murderer and now possibly the hero of the fucking show. He's like, he gets his foot clawed, I should say, and whoosh, when the hand comes out from the hatch, and it rips his boot apart, and his foot gets all ripped up. But an alien infection takes hold as well. Nah, no mutations. He's just really ill. So they put him in a sick bay. So you've got a couple of guys in a sick bay having blood transfusions. Well, they've got a bit like The Thing from the World, and of course The Thing, John Carpenter's The Thing, using blood plasma, to do transfusions and that. So they're there, and but our commander has noticed even more so that his bird is now paying a lot of attention to friggin' what's his face. Now, hang on, let's go back. Let's backtrack slightly here. You have this crazy suicide mission which Marshall Thompson, Carruthers, formulates. He and another guy are going to don spacesuits and they're going to go outside because they work out, right, he's here on this level here. Right, if we go outside and walk down the side of the spaceship, as you do, and go in below, we can trap him there, we can come up behind him, sort of thing. So this is the plan that they have, and they time it to it's literally crackerjack timing. So like at exactly 0300 hours and 19 minutes and 10 seconds, start making a noise and distract him, because we've got to go through the airlock and depressurize and all that kind of shit. Makes a noise. So to cover our noise, you guys start talking. Cue one of the most ridiculous scenes I've ever witnessed, and because it's so bad. Cheers. Right, what happens is they put their suits on, and they've clearly got these magnetic boots on, but the whole thing is filmed. They just come out of a hatch and walk slowly, one behind the other, foot in unison, walking down. Dung, march, down, and they tilt the film so it's sideways, but they're just walking down, and you can tell that they must have thought this will be dead suspenseful. No, it goes on for a good couple of minutes of just them walking down the side with this kind of music playing. You're like, what the hell? And they're coming down below. But once they go into the other airlock to depressurize and all that sort of stuff, you make as much noise as possible so he doesn't hear us down below. So they go like right, and they're all up above this sort of thing, or this other level, hatchways there, and they're all like, right, okay, it's time. Right, blah 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 blah, and they walk around like blah 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 blah. Yes, blah blah blah. He cut down to the creature, and he's going like, and he's like listening to him, like, and he goes up the steps a little bit just to listen a bit more, and they're stomping round, and it's so fucking stupid. And you see this a couple of times because it cuts to our guys getting in to the level below the monster. I've actually forgotten what their plan is. What are they going to do? Oh yeah, they're going to electrify the steps. That's what it is. You've got this in this movie as well. You've got Marshall Thompson, the hero, Carruthers. He's doing this really, really naff, monotone voiceover, this narration at about 3 points throughout the movie. Think Harrison Ford doing Blade Runner, the initial theatrical run of Blade Runner, theatrical cut, where he's doing his Philip Marlowe-esque narration. And you can tell, now, I've said many times before, I love that voiceover. And even though Harrison Ford didn't want to do it and hated it, and he said, like, you can hear it in my voice, I'm bored shitless doing this. And it's just dead bland and monotone. Well, when I was a kid watching Blade Runner when it first came out, I went to Netflix to see it, that sounded great to me. I had no issues with it at all. Now I understand why people hate it, but this isn't even like a guy who's like, oh god, I gotta do this fucking stupid voiceover thing. No, he's giving it his all in the character's same sort of sense of spirit and daring do. But it's so deadpan and boring. It just ruins it completely. All tension's gone. Because if you've got a voiceover, we know you survive. How could you be giving a voiceover otherwise? So, well, we know you're gonna live. I know it's that kind of film where the heroes are going to survive. They're going to win. You know that. Oh, by the way, spoilers ahead. But of course they are. More will die, but it's one of those things. That's just I don't know. incidental fodder, cannon fodder. And so he says this voice, like, we're gonna electrocute, there's enough power here to kill 30 men. Bear that in mind, because you'll hear this line again later on. There's enough power there to electrocute 30 men. Should be enough for him. So they electrocute these stairs, and then the creature, like, upstairs, they're still stomping around, blah 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 blah. 2 men walk into a bar, and all this kind of, it's just fucking rubbish that they've just come out with, and it's the stomping round, and they're all going round in circles. Oh, it's so stupid. But anyway, right, we've set this up. Now, the creature's heard them downstairs, so it comes back down, and they're hiding in the corners, in their spacesuits, they're hiding in the corners. Creature comes down, and then a really, really shoddy effect. This is 1958. We'd had genius movies with fabulous effects before this. Them, Tarantula, the thing from the world, War of the Worlds. Incidentally, War of the Worlds, there is a sound effect in George Powell's fabulous 1953 War of the Worlds, glorious Technicolor, for the Martian manta rays, but this sort of hissing, electro-hissing, buzzing noise. They nicked it, and it's in this movie as well. If you listen, it's in the background on many scenes. I mean, you'd be thinking, like, that sounds familiar, that. Yeah, it is, it's from War of the Worlds. Unlawfully nicked, I would have said as well. But anyway, so he comes down the stairs, right, juice him, and he's like, and all you get is a little tiny, a little shitty little spot, and he goes, and then another one, it looks so pathetic. Hasn't worked anyway, useless. There's a big skirmish in this level. Marshall Thompson's legging it round, and the other guy, I don't know what his name is, but the other guy, he's got a little flamethrower thing, a little, like a welding, torch, because that's how he fixed all these electronics and this booby trap to the steps in the first place. All metal grilled steps. And he's there, and he gets his leg trapped. He's in, like, I don't know what it is, some great big container and some other stupid prop as well, and his foot gets caught, and he's like, I think my leg's broken. He then spends the next, 3-4 hours in this position, and the monster keeps going for him, but he just fires up, it just juices up his welder's torch, and it's like, ah! But it goes from, this is what I said before about Ray Crash Corrigan in this costume. He is able to maneuver bloody quickly. There's loads of shots of, like, in this particular sequence, of Carruthers sort of like, weird, what's that? That's some alarm going. If some hatch suddenly lifts behind me and something big and lumbering comes out and stalks up behind me, it's just the wife, don't worry. It just means the washing's been done. And he legs it into this decompression chamber, like, to go back out again, and to literally leave his mate behind. But the monster just legs it after him, and he's there within a second. Whoa! And the door shuts and all this, like, and he runs back to the other guy, and he's like, with this fucking blowtorch thing, and you're like, Jesus, this is where the film works. I mean, it's of its time to have the lumbering sort of big silly feet, sort of like that, walking inwardly, because he can't position his feet. But when you see him from, like, say, the knees upwards, he's clearly not wearing those bloody big reptilian feet boots. He's legging it, and my God, that speed gets you. This is why films like this actually do work. It's all well and good having, your fantastic digital effects and your great prosthetics and all that, and the likes of The Thing, Rob Bottin and John Carpenter, The Thing. My favourite film of all time, folks. I may have mentioned that a few times. Where it just changes shape, and it can be anything. Or like The Blob. It's all well and good having things like that. But what frightens me most of all is the realism of a lumbering man-shaped thing coming after you, which can knock doors down, come through walls, will not stop. That is the thing that frightens me, because that's tangible. That's, a thing coming at you. Not the thing, but something coming after you, which is on 2 legs and muscle bound, and you can't overpower it and fight back. That frightens me. And this film has that, because he does have speed and agility, because he comes round these metal staircases, he whips his way around them and runs up them, like, And then you have these stalking scenes where these big silly feet are walking like that, and you hear, I do apologise for this, as I say. Hopefully I'll be firing on all cylinders for Halloween. A lot of stuff planned for Halloween. He says, got nothing planned for Halloween actually, but you know, I'm flying by the seat of my kilt, so don't worry, there'll be stuff coming up. So he's going with this guy, and in the end he says, like, just leave me, I've got enough oxygen here, I can last for a bit, and I've got my blowtorch, you can't get to me, my leg's trapped, I can't get out of here. So Carruthers fucks off and leaves him, and he ends up back, he has to do a spacewalk back up. This spacewalk, magnetic boots and all that shite. You know, you look at anything, any spacewalks, they've got ropes and guide ropes and superstructures and railings and girders and things to hold on to, because that's what you can just, we've all seen Gravity. Ooh, yeah. So, I mean, you know, but these is like, it's like Red Dwarf. They're just walking up and down the superstructure of this thing. Shite. Gets back in again upstairs, and he's like, I'm sorry, I had to leave him behind. He's still, and they can talk to him as well. So this other guy's trapped down there, but I've got enough oxygen for a while, and I've got my blowtorch. You know, every time he comes near me, you know, I'll fend him off. But it's nice to have the company, he says, like, not meaning the monster, meaning them talking to him. You know, we're safe, we're happy upstairs, we're having coffee, cigarettes, and playing chess, and we're eating, you know, scones. We're eating scones, or is it scones, with Carruthers? You know, you keep us posted as to what the thing's doing down there. Just fucking great, isn't it? But you've got the commander, Van Hoosen, the one that was in love with Anne. He's there, he's got his mangled foot, and he's kind of going delirious. And he sees over on the other side, like, Carruthers is being nursed by his bird, Anne, and she's got his head cradled to her boobs, and he's going mad, and he has a big epi fit, and he's like, hey, look at you, you know, I gave him like I gave him a colloquial English accent then, you know, look at you. Well, that was Scottish. He just says, like, you know, you left all your men to die on Mars, now you're doing the same. You left so-and-so down there to die, and you come back again without a scratch. Why is that a stupid line? Because he's over there, Carruthers, being nursed, because he's got a great big fucking Harry Potter across his fod, and she's dabbing it, and dabbing that, and holding him to her bosom, and then dabbing it again. You come out without a scratch. He came out with literally just the biggest scratch you could think of on his fod. Marshall Thompson playing Carruthers. This time watching it, I noticed how much he looks like Russell Crowe. The younger Russell Crowe. Not the big fat flabby jabber Russell Crowe that we've got these days. But imagine Maximus. If you put like a little Roman beard on Marshall Thompson in this, and just brushed he's got one of those American 50s buzz cuts. It's very neat though, it's lovely. You know, just brush that down. You'd have the little Roman fringe as well. He looks just like Russell Crowe. He also looks like my mate Robbie, but you know, you don't know Robbie, but just take my word for it. He looks like Robbie as well. So, you've got all that, and he, you know, you come out without a scratch. Got a fucking big scratch on him. But he's losing his marbles because they've run out of blood. This transfusion thing's, and the old bird, she's like, old bird, she's only about 40, you know, but she's the old one in this, and you can see her, you know, she looks at one in a massive time wasting interlude. She's looking at the one for the commander, and he's like, And then she goes over to the other guy, the one that got down his face, got him there as well, and she looks at that. This is a film of expressions, painfully elaborate expressions of someone's, you know, to make you know that they're confused, they're fearful, they're thinking about things, and it's really, really bad for that. Play the drinking game. Watch whenever someone just goes, well, what do we do here? And she's the worst with these two fucking bottles of, well, empty bottles of blood plasma. And she's like, it just chews up time. This film is barely 70 minutes long. Yes, folks, 70 minutes long. Way less than an hour and a half. And yet it still feels massively padded out with all this bullshit narration, the bookending press reports and the space directorate bullshittery. And the love triangle thing. And moments like this where someone is just going, but if bullets don't work and grenades don't work and gas doesn't work, what's going to work? And then everyone just goes, when people tell you news, bad news, shocking news, you think about it. You don't react. Whenever you react facially, you've done it on purpose. It might be something that you've learned from other people. It might be something you think is appropriate for the scenario. But if someone tells you, I've just crashed the car for the side of a double-decker bus, I was avoiding a big werewolf in Leicester Square, Piccadilly Circus, you just go, you might be thinking, my God, wow, what? But your face doesn't do that. You don't go, unless you think about doing it, and then you give facial reactions. So acting in this movie is very, very poor. It's very, very egged on. This director, calm, has probably gone like, show some emotion, show confusion, show anger, show distrust, show, we're doomed. And they're going, you're looking for Gino and Kleinholz, where could they be? It's so exaggerated, it's appalling. And once you've clocked it, there's no unclocking it. And you just see it time and time again. So anyway, how did he win the day? This poor guy downstairs, trapped there, he's there for ages. They will do a rescue mission to bring him back. That goes slightly awry as well. And more injuries ensue. And then the beast just keeps on coming up. So in the end, yeah, I've cut a bit out here because we're going on forever on a film that really isn't worth it. They get to the top level, which would be the command deck. So there's more blinky lights and buttons and things. And, oh yeah, that's it. Our boy, who's the commander, losing the plot. Without a scratch, when there's a fucking big scratch there, he starts murmuring and, I've got to... We're atomically powered. Atomic bloody reactors in there. Right, the other guys are doing the rescue mission down below to try and beat the other guy back, right? So he goes over there with his mangled leg and all that, and the two women are going, no, what are you doing? I'm going to stop this thing. If nothing else works, this will work. Remember that line? This is so electrified, it'll kill 30 men. He goes, well, if I flip all these switches here, the reactor will open, and it's enough to kill 100 men. So we've advanced now from 30 to 100 men. And he opens the reactor, and they trap the beast in there when the reactor opens up. And he's just like, well, it's a big, bright light as far as he's concerned. Doesn't really bother him in the least. But they've got to bug out of there pretty quick. But he smashes his way through another wall, comes after them, they get in the airlock, and well, fucking whatever. They end up back in this fucking thing. So even the reactor didn't work, right? This does work. They're all up top. And they put their spacesuits on now because they realise that they're running out of oxygen as well. Here's a good point. That is a good point, isn't it? It's a very good point. They're all up there in the top deck and they've got their guns. They're forever shooting bullets at him. They know it doesn't fucking work. And they've got that bazooka and they're sitting there. They're on like a sort of gantry level. So you've got that flying saucer hatch plate in the middle of the screen. And they're all sitting around. The camera's always in one place, looking that way at them. There's never any sort of camera moving around. There's no flourishes, directorial or cinematography wise, to make it, that's a good shot, that. It's flat beyond belief. But they're all there. They've got their guns. They've got the two injured guys and all that. And they're taking it in turns. Carruthers and some other guy are sitting there with the bazooka propped up on a railing, aimed at this thing. And they put all like packing crates and shit on top of it to buy a bit of extra time. But they realise, hang on a minute, the oxygen level's gone down. oxygen consumption's gone up by a good 40 to 50%. It shouldn't have done that. Cue lots of like, and like 40 to 50%. Sure. All this shit going on. Well, hang on, but this Martian, there's a very thin atmosphere on Mars, and he's got a very big chest on him. He must have massive lungs. He's breathing all our oxygen. If we drain out all the oxygen, that'll kill him. That could be the only thing. Okay, right, all right, well, I'll buy it. I've bought this so far. I might as well buy into this shit as well. Oh, speaking of bogus science, we've got one of these guys. And for the life of me, I can't work out it's meant to be a joke or they genuinely believed this at the time. He says, because about this story about Mars, which Carruthers is coming out with, there was a monster there, like, at the time they don't believe it. And this guy says, like, well, Mars is almost the size of Texas, so maybe it has got monsters. Almost the size of Texas. Mars, folks, is just over half the diameter and size of the Earth. It is smaller than the Earth, but it's over half the size of our planet. So Mars is almost as big as Texas. The fuck are you? What shit is that? Is it meant to be a joke? I don't know, because there's no sort of like it's just a funny little. That's a cowboy joke. Bollocks. Just a fucking stupid line. Anyway, they're there. Boof, 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 Corrigan's coming through. I'm hungry. Fuck this. Can barely breathe. You've gassed me, shot me, bombed me. That's bombed. Bombed me, okay? And you've insulted me as well. And plus, I don't want to be here. I actually felt sorry for him. He's wandered on. Oh, Christ. Oh, looks interesting in here. And then, hatch shuts. Off you go. I've got a wife and kids in a cave down there on Mars. The fuck are you doing? I want to go back. And now I'm hungry as well. You can't blame him. And going around in a rage, smashing things as he can't get through. He's just like a wild animal. He's just confused and upset. Comes through, doesn't he? Cue another really, really naff moment. You've got whatever bozo's manning the bazooka, fires it. Oh, Christ. Right? He's come punching through and he's pushed back the rather plastic, easily ripped apart bulkhead of the flying saucer hatch, and he's coming through. Peekaboo! Hello, I'm here. Carruthers, I'm coming for you. And he's there, and all this kind of shit. And this guy with the bazooka fires it, and you've got a long shot. Every shot's probably the same sort of diameter and aspect of what you're looking at right now. So it'd be a guy sitting where that pumpkin is, and I'm the monster going, argh, and he fires the bazooka. Superimposed flash of, a marble, a glowing marble, hits the floor in front of the monster and bounces off. Doesn't destroy the floor, doesn't go straight through the superstructure and blow them completely apart, decompression and all that bullshit. No. But the thing that got me was, how the fucking hell do you miss when he's right there? The distance is literally from that pumpkin to me, and with a bazooka, which covers, the bazooka's pretty much on his nose. This big fucking nose thing, big reptile schnoz, and he still manages to miss. What the fuck? It's just fucking stupid. Anyway, boing, misses. But they hit this switch, and all of a sudden, the airlock door opens. The airlock door. They're all wearing spacesuits. It's the final stand. Airlock opens. Everything's getting sucked out. Although, I will be honest, the monster does not get whisked out through the airlock like a certain xenomorph we all know and love. But all the oxygen is going. And they say this stupid thing as well. They say, we can deplete all the oxygen, and then we can spend time building it back up again. And I started thinking, how'd you do that? If you got rid of all the oxygen, how'd you build it back up again? Oh, whatever you breathe out is going to be carbon dioxide. You can't breathe that. How does that work? But then I started thinking, well, actually, how do space stations and spaceships and shuttles work anyway? I don't know. I don't know. How do you keep oxygen running in these places? I don't know. Answer below. Let me know. I don't fucking know. Antivirus, I don't fucking care either. But, but it just seemed like we can build it back up again. How? How you can do it? You're offering me your tanks. By the way, they're not wearing tanks. If I remember rightly, they're in these spacesuits and there's no oxygen tanks. Or there might be. If they are, they're very small. In a back pocket sort of thing. And so anyway, the creature's like, and I felt sorry for him. Down he goes. They hit the switch, doosh, and the airlock door shuts. Wow. So all of a sudden they're okay. Take the helmets off. Hey, we're okay now. And I think Carruthers picks up the alien's head and just goes and lets it drop. He's dead now. Job done. Oh, by the way, Anne, you and me, we're gonna get it on now. You, Colonel Van Hoosen, with your mangled foot and your alien blood poisoning. Guess again, motherfucker. I'm in charge now. In fact, you've actually had a moment where Van Hoosen says, look, I know I had my chance, but now it's all over. He's survived, by the way. He hasn't died, but he's just saying, yeah, and go for him. He's better than me. What? But isn't it? There's another thing about the female of the species. Well, okay, they want a good mate. They want a mate that looks after and protects them. Yeah, okay, fine. Don't we all want that? With money, preferably with money, and financial stability and great sex. But the minute that dries up, you're gonna hop on the next best thing. Women do this. I know, and this sounds terrible, doesn't it? But I know plenty of my mates who've been completely fucked over by their girlfriends or their wife, who has then found a better model and moved on. I know men do it as well, but I've seen it more the other way around, where women have shit on the bloke and then bugged out with someone better, and then literally leapfrog to somebody else afterwards. And you're like, and my missus is still friends with these women, and I'm like, fucking joking, aren't you? It's just, not having that. But anyway, so what she's done is basically she's like, well, you've got a mangled foot now, and this guy's better looking. He looks like Gladiator, and Kilt-Man's mate Robbie. So I'm moving in with him now on the next flight to Venus. So, but this guy's like giving the blessing. Yeah, go on, off you go. I had my chance. I wasn't good enough. I can see you've made the right choice. Oh, shut up. And then you get the bookend of the press conference. And apparently all of this has happened within 24 hours. Because at the start of the film, you get this press conference. Right, we've got Colonel Carruthers. We're bringing him back for court-martial and a big trial for murder. And there's your story. And they all run out away. They've all got the little trilbies on the little bits of paper tucked into the little headband. And off they go. And but he's, I know I've called you back just 24 hours later, but we've got more information now. We had a videogram call or something, and it seems that Carruthers was right. And now, yes, there was a monster. It was aboard this vessel as well. But we won. Mars is a new place, but Mars should be renamed Death. And they're all like, write it down. Yeah. There's your story, folks. But wait another 9 months for them to get back to whatever. Fucking hell. And so endeth it, the terror from beyond space. Right, folks. That was a thunder blasting, whaley gig. Asides aplenty, and tour through that movie. It's not that bad. It has an atmosphere to it. Well, there's an irony for you. It is a man in a monster suit on the rampage, and a 10 little Indians scenario. They're getting picked off one by one, and each thing they try fails, and then it's a final last-ditch stand. You've seen this a million times before, and a million times, certainly 2 million times since, and it always works. The scenario always works. This film fails for me because it's flat direction. It's incredibly flat and really banal cinematography, an incredible low budget, and this whole vertical structure and vertical sort of storytelling really begins to take its toll and become quite annoying, and the acting is shoddy. It's really, really poor. I mean, I like Marshall Thompson. I do like him. And I do like Crash Corrigan's blood trail of the monster. He's in a great big bloody suit. But I tell you, when he moves, I said before, when he moves, fucking hell does he move. Curiously, now someone can also maybe correct me and point me in the right direction on this, because I really can't be arsed watching it again anytime soon. There's a huge sequence, the I think rescue attempt of the guy who's trapped down below with his leg broken and he's using his blowtorch to fend off the monster. The three guys that go to get him have taken their boots off and they're wearing socks. You're wearing socks on slippery metal floors and slippery metal staircases. That's fucking dangerous. I can slip on the stairs here, our carpeted stairs, in a pair of socks. I can slip in a pair of fucking combat boots. But that's me, fucking, gimp-footed fool that I am. Clumsy bastard. But why would you be doing that? Now, unless there's a line, someone saying, like, let's take our boots off, make less noise. Maybe that's it. Maybe they aren't. But I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt there because I don't remember that line being said. But it could be that. Because otherwise, why would you have these three blokes, these three rescue, SAS, fucking Delta Force guys going down there? Just in their stocking feet. It doesn't make any sense. And it looks fucking stupid as well. But the boots look crap as well. Shiny black boots. The sets are really rubbish. Really, really rubbish. Think William Hartnell era Doctor Who. Only not as imaginative. Terrible, terrible. Lots of blinking lights. And it's not helped by this very static camera work. That they're all in the same shot. I know John Carpenter did that. John Carpenter mimicked Christian Nyby and Howard Hawks for The Thing from the World when he made The Thing. But he also aped many of these movies where you'd have, the Academy ratio and you bring all your cast into the same shot. You're getting value out of all your cast so people could talk back and forth. And this film has that in spades. But that's if the dialogue works and you actually care about the characters and they're carrying a performance, which only literally two of these people are. The rest of them are fucking garbage. And it's just expressions and and no, I say again, no one does that. You wait till the next time you're in the pub. I mean, knowing me, I'm always going to bring it down to the pub because I'll be in the pub later and someone's going to say to me, oh, blah, blah, blah happened. I spoke to so and so. And do you know what he said? Well, get on this. And I will probably go, why? Are you kidding me? When really, that's exaggerating. Someone tells you something, you just go. Whatever they tell you does not make your face move. You make your face move. And it's painfully, horribly obvious in this movie that they're doing it time and time again. And it really, really begins to grate on the nerves. And then it becomes like, oh, let's see how they react to this. Well, the gas bombs didn't work. And we've run out of cigarettes. They have to go down below as well because the blood's run out and the blood's down below. So there's another reason why they have to go back below the monster or into the monster's terrain because the blood's down there. Cheers, y'all. Well, do I recommend this movie? In some ways I do because I grew up with it. I grew up on imagery from this movie. And I thought, gotta see this. And as a kid, I loved it. As I said before, I explained, I love the humanoid but muscle-bound, big, powerful monster. I love that more than anything else. So, like with werewolves, yeah, it's all well and good having you on all fours, hellhound, big, ferocious beast. But that, to me, is still an animal. Not saying this is scary, but it's still an animal. But the supernatural element, or the monstrous element, is something standing and walking like you do, with a head, 2 arms, might have 4 arms, I don't know. But it's on 2 legs, and it's coming after you. But it's got more power, more speed, more strength, and more brute, fucking unstoppable nature than you've got. That, and it terrifies me, smashing down doors, coming through windows. That's what frightens me. And this film has that, certainly. So, as I say, Ray Crash Corrigan really does, sell the deal. seal the deal with his portrayal of the Martian. And I felt sorry for him as well, you know, because they pick up his head and they're like, yeah, you're fucking dead, and just let it drop, boom, on the bulkhead, you know, or what is left of it. Music's great. I do love the music. I love the music of the era. A lot of this, I've been talking all over it, but you know, let's see if I can find it. Right. Listen to this. Whenever they cut to a shot, an exterior shot, which is always shit, of the rocket flying slightly at a weird angle as well, with a static background of stars. This is what you hear. This is the space traveling sort of, you know, chapterizing. That's the electric violin, manipulated through a little box, a magic box of tricks to make it sound slightly different. Like the theremin and early electronic sort of music, like think Forbidden Planet, Lewis and B.B. Barron, experimental electronic score. But I love the theremin. Theremin works for horror. Theremin works extraordinarily well for sci-fi as well, because it's got that weird sort of warbling, sonorous, electronic, otherworldly sound. Electric violin is doing the same job here. And it sounds great. Yes, that sounded better than what I just did. I admit that, but I do like the soundtrack to it though. So, and Alien, of course. Dan O'Bannon, Walter Hill, Ronald Shusett came up with Alien. Alien based itself on 2 movies. I mean, probably amongst many others as well. But there's no 2 ways about it. Dan O'Bannon, especially, was a massive movie aficionado, as with Walter Hill, took on board the ideas and imagery from this movie. Bulkheads, air shafts, an alien stowaway. Okay, in Alien's case, it stows away inside John Hurt. But, you know, in this case, it just gets on board. But it's the same idea. The survivors getting picked off one by one, trying all sorts of measures to stop this thing, failing every time. They can't escape. It's a enclosed environment, claustrophobic, isolated. And the finale is someone in a spacesuit opening an airlock. Okay, the difference is this, in this case, it doesn't get blown out the airlock, but the theory is the same, you know. And the other film is, of course, it's over there, Mario Bava's fantastic Planet of the Vampires. The story of that is different than Alien and It, the Terror from Beyond Space, but there's a distress call, there's a planet, and there's imagery in that movie which is exactly copied for Alien. The huge skeletal remains on a huge sort of chair in a big chamber. That's exactly what the space jockey is in Alien. There's no way on fucking earth that Dan O'Bannon, Ronald Shusett, Walter Hill and Ridley Scott did not use what they found in these 2 movies in their movie. But their movie is suitably different, of course. And you find me a movie that's made now which isn't based on something else, or took an idea or an image or whatever, a line of dialogue, a characterization. There's only, what is it? There's 7 stories you can tell, and everything else is, but there's a 1,000,001, possibly more, offshoots and variations you can do on all of those. But with films like this, you can see quite clearly, you know, the lineage, you know, the ancestry of Alien goes to this movie and to Planet of the Vampires. Now, I think the reason why this movie gets kind of like a bit of kudos these days is because of that connection. But when you watch it now, I defy you to be disappointed. It's got its moments, it's got some stuff going on which I do enjoy. And I love having a laugh with these movies. And I think that's probably where you're going to get your best bit of entertainment. I reviewed Tarantula a week ago and had a ball discussing it. And I was taking the piss out of various elements, but it's done in a loving way. I actually really do admire Tarantula. I think it's a great, great movie. A lot of great ideas and some terrific elements and scenes and sequences and visuals. And but this, you kind of, the ratio, it's more 80% you're taking the piss out of it, and not in a good way. And yet, I love that phrase, and yet, ... You can have fun with it. That's the thing as well. Well, not the thing. The thing's a masterpiece. But the thing with films like this is that once you... Okay, look. I now know the acting isn't going to win me over. The effects aren't going to win me over. The sets aren't particularly fabulous. And there's not really much going on here. I don't really side with anyone. The dialogue's really pissing me off. And Gino! Clenhold! Canal. Honest to God, that goes on forever. And literally looking under tables and moving chairs. You can't get fucking quickly see they're not there, are they? Where can they be? Is he under the lampshade? What? Is he in your pocket? No. I'll check the other one. It is that stupid and that inept. But even despite that, you can have fun with it. So, I suppose at the end of the day, I do recommend it, The Terror from Beyond Space, possibly because of its huge influence upon far greater movies. And you can see where they began and the evolution of certain ideas, the genesis of ideas there. And it does work. So I was looking at my notes there, and I've written, don't forget, without a scratch. You, Carruthers, you killed all your crew on Mars, now you're killing mine, and you get away with it without a scratch. He's got a fucking big scratch, which his missus, soon to be ex-missus, is tending to. It's just, someone wrote that, and then this is what beggars belief about movies, where you've got a script written. Okay, I've written this, right, okay. And you might, because you're so intense on the actual screenwriting process, which would be Jerome or Jeremy Bigsby, and right, I'm in the scene in my mind, but I can't see it. Then you've got the actors doing the lines, and the director there, and the cameraman, and everyone going like, he's just said, you come out that scratch, but he's looking at him with a fucking big scratch on his head. Are we going to keep that in? Should we rephrase that? And you come out with just a scratch. That would have worked, wouldn't it? Well, that would have worked far better. I don't know. But folks, I need to retire. Oh, not from this. Just for now, because my throat's killing me. Please be healthy, be happy, and be yourselves. And sup this stuff. It has deadened the pain in my throat somewhat, but this will wear off, and then I'll wake up with it'll be raging raw again. I know the cycle of these things. It's almost like I've been starved of oxygen, and I've had my life fluids osmosed out of me. He's had every bone in his body broken, but that isn't what killed him. What the fucking hell do you know? Until you do the autopsy, how do you know? From the outset, he's had every bone in his body broken, and he has been crushed. The fucking thing left on him like a great big bloody silverback gorilla. Pound, pound, pound. And that's clearly what fucking killed him. Because obviously he killed him and then dragged him into the air ducts and then osmosed the fluids out of him. I think so. This whole thing took place in 24 hours. You did a big search after the big scream and you didn't find anything, so he'd obviously moved into the air shafts. Massive continuity error there. Oh, this film's going right the way down the pan, isn't it? Folks, I have another shabby Kilt-Man. Oh, God. Please, keep it Celtic, keep it Celtic. And in this meantime, and ever, watch out for Martian expeditions in between time. Please, just be happy. And I'm going to catch you all. And yet someone let me know about oxygen levels in spacecraft. Someone out there must know. And let me know what you think of the movie as well. I bet someone that's got a different take on this. You missed a really pivotal line which made everything fall into place. No, I don't think I did. I'll be back with more. Please hopefully, if my chest doesn't, if I don't get all congested and all, oh God, and I feel all crook later on. Oh, I don't want to. It's Halloween. It's Halloween. I want more to do. I want masks and blood-curdling frenzies, pure carnage and atmospherics and wow, spooky ookiness. I'll do it. I'll persevere. That's acting for you in this movie.